What's up, everybody? My name is Alex. I am your host here on the Swole Friends podcast, as well as a co-founder and COO here at Swolverine. Swolverine is an endurance athlete and active lifestyle brand. We have over 31. We got over that 30 mark. Different performance and daily health supplements that are all proprietary, blend-free, clinically dosed, and scientifically proven effective. Today, here on the Swole Friends podcast, I am joined by the one-of-a-kind Abby. Abby is a model turned athlete, an elite level CrossFitter, a former fashion model, high fashion model at that, a chocolate athlete, chocolate lover, we'll say, hailing from San Antonio, Texas. She is a Swolverine sponsored athlete, a semi-finals athlete, and just finished 4th overall in the TFX qualifier that will take place in Texas in January of 2023. On this episode of the podcast, we're going to chat all about her competing, her athletic accolades, what it was like to make the switch from high fashion to the gym. We all know how grungy that is, and all the things in between. We'll also talk a little bit more about self-confidence, body image, how to navigate the changes of her environment, and how she's created opportunities for herself and overcome adversities. So what's up, Addie? I'm super excited to have you.
What's up, Alex? Good to see you.
Good to see you
about this.
No, a little exciting. It's kind of nice to just hop on a stream and talk a little bit more about you and show the world, who's like the person behind the social media, right? And for anyone out there, if you're listening or if you're watching, make sure to follow Abby on Instagram. Her handle is ABBIEDOMIT. So, Abby, let's just get into it. What does a typical day in the life look like for you?
Honestly, right now, I'm at the point where it's really all about training. I wake up, I start eating, I eat my breakfast, and then hit the gym for my first session. I'm there for a few hours, come home, eat, hang out with my cats, maybe read a little bit, go to the next session. My second session is actually when I see my husband. We usually kind of work out together during that time. And then after that, we come home, we have dinner, hang out, watch some TV, go to bed. That's kind of the days right now.
How many cats do you have?
I have 2. They're sisters. But right now we're actually babysitting my little sister's kitten. So he's been staying here, and the big cats, they're in charge of him right now. So that's been a lot of fun.
That is so awesome. What are your cats' names? I'm very curious.
So my extra large one, her name is Luna. She's this big. And then the one who's a little bit smaller, she's Millie. And they're both tortie mixes. So they're running around right now. But
maybe we'll have who knows?
They might jump up here, so we'll see.
So Abby, tell me a little bit about you. I guess let's just start where you grew up. Where are you from? What was little Abby like?
So I was born in Michigan. Lived there through preschool, and then we moved down to right outside St. Louis in O'Fallon, Missouri. We stayed there for 10 years. That was all of grade school. That was kindergarten through 8th grade. And then I lived in a tiny town in Southern Illinois for 2 years, my first 2 years of high school. And then pretty much from almost age 16 till now, I've been in San Antonio. So Texas is home now for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was kind of wondering, like, how did you end up in Texas? And obviously you still like it, right? I hope.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think, I was like, I don't know if we'll stay here. It's so hot. But now I go up north and I'm just like, oh, no, I can't do this anymore. But I love Texas now, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and we did a photo shoot with you. As you guys may or may not know, we work with Abby on the Swolverine side of things, like with supplements. And we did a photo shoot with you, and it was like there was no walls on like the gym. I don't know how to say that. Like it was like an outdoor, indoor.
Yes.
Like
it was so that Lone Star. There's the inside, and then you can open up the garage, and then there's the outside where they just have more rigs, more space, just more areas to move around, all that.
It's just covered, and then there's just trees everywhere.
It's covered, yeah. And then then there's the taco place here, there's another taco place here. So you work out, then you go eat, and then you come back and go eat more. Yeah. Yeah, the whole time you're just like, all right, I don't know if I'm hungry, I don't know if I'm gonna grow up, but
Like I smell greasy.
Yeah, you're like, whew. Just go back inside.
Right? He's like, nope, no, thank you. Growing up, you played a lot of sports, right? I mean, you were pretty active, kind of active.
I was very active. Yes.
Yeah.
So actually, I feel like the first active thing I did was it was dance. Me and my sisters, we all did like jazz and ballet, tap, all those. And then I did soccer for a while. We all did soccer, including my brother.
Mhm.
It was okay. It wasn't really my thing. Eventually, I always wanted to do gymnastics, but it took a while to convince my mom or convince my parents to let me sign up. So I would just always, go in the backyard and work on my back handsprings or whatever. We had a trampoline, so I could teach myself some of the stuff, and then eventually I could do it on the ground. And I was like, I really want to sign up. I went to like a birthday party, and it was at a gymnastics gym, and I was like, this is what I want to do. And so eventually I signed up, or I started doing it. And when I was doing it, it was my whole life. Like all I wanted to do was gymnastics, like all day long. And so I just wanted to train more and more. I wanted to, be in the gym 6 hours a day, every day. I wanted literally, I wanted to go to the Olympics. Like that's what I wanted to do. I did start a little late though. So it wasn't probably, wasn't really in the cards for me. I remember one of my coaches had to sit down and tell me that. He was like, Abby, if you wanted to go to the Olympics, you have to already be elite right now. And I was 12. He's like, you need to already be winning national competitions as an elite at the elite level. And I was like, oh, well, I'm almost level 9. Like, he's like, we can talk about college scholarship. I was like, oh, but then, I mean, there's so many injuries, and then you get injured, and then next thing you know, you've grown 4 inches, and then it's just a totally different thing. So by the time we moved, the nearest gym was it was like an hour away, and I was having so many growth spurts, and I wasn't in the same body anymore. And so I switched to cheerleading. I did cheerleading all through high school. I did track. Part of me thought maybe I should have stuck with track, because whenever we moved to Texas, you had to choose one, because I don't even know, the sports were just different, and you had to take a class and do your sport in the class as like a period. But so I was like, oh well, cheerleading, you can tumble, you can do all that. So I want to stick with cheer. And so I kept doing cheer. I joined an all-star team, did all that, ended up having some of the same injuries from gymnastics. So that kind of prevented me from doing it in college. And then everything just kind of changed after that.
Yeah.
But,
How tall are you?
So for modeling, I always said I'm 5'8", but I'm probably like 5'7" 3/4. I would never ever say it. I'd be like, I'm 5'8", maybe I'm 5'9", not really. But
this is like major insecurity for me. Like I'm like actually do the exact same thing. Like
yeah.
license says no, it's not a major insecurity. But I've always was like, I want to be 5'8". Just someone tell me I'm 5'8". And I'm like, just no, I'm 5'7" and 3.
Good posture.
I know. I'm using tall shoes. Can you still tap? Is that a thing?
I don't know. I mean, so it wasn't like I don't know. I was like 5, like I don't know. We didn't do like a very good like it was more just kind of like, all right, we're gonna put on I remember we wore like a Dorothy outfit for one of them. It was pretty cute. It was a little Dorothy outfit. We did kind of a tap dance. It wasn't like good tap. It was like, we're just gonna go dance around. Our ballet was a little better, maybe.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Okay, so you cheered, and that was like the big thing. You got some injuries, and then tell us like what happened after that. Did you go to college? Did you move? Did you continue with sports? What happened there?
Yes. So it was time for college. I mean, so the second time, so the major injury I really had in gymnastics was breaking my back, and then it happened again in cheer.
Again? You broke your back twice?
So the second time it was stress fractures. So it's a little different. It's more like the injury wasn't totally healed, and so it just kind of over time like went like that. And then at that point, and then it just kept giving me all these issues, and the doctors were just like, all right, you're either going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of your life, or you're going to stop doing what you're doing. And so I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm not going to go get a cheer scholarship anymore. So I needed to figure out what to do for college. So I ended up just going to, we have these things called the Alamo colleges in San Antonio, which is what's it called, community college. And so obviously that's a lot cheaper. So I was like, okay, I can afford this, you know, I'll get my grant. And I'm really good at saving money. So I was able to like cover all that. So I was just working. I had a waitress job at the time and just doing whatever. Athletically, I always liked working out. At this time, I would just kind of run outside my house, and that's it. I had to do something. I wasn't necessarily doing it competitively, but eventually I did sign up for like half marathons and stuff like that. At this point, I did start getting into modeling. The first job I did was actually in high school. Our choreographer for cheer was the one who like kind of told me about this magazine and signed me up. And so I ended up getting the gig. I went, I did it. It was like an athletic shoot, and it was a really good experience. It was really fun. But I didn't think, I was like, I don't know, could I do this? I don't know. And then so it was later that I was already in college. I think I was 19, gonna turn 20. And I was trying to just figure out what to do with my life because I wasn't really enjoying school. I think at the time I was taking a semester off. I just wanted to travel. Didn't know what to do. And so I was kind of veering towards joining the military. So I went through like all the testing. I took the ASVAB. Was about to go do MEPS to join the Air Force. And I think it was like a week before. And at this time, I had already met Anton. I'm like telling him all about this. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go across the world. I'm joining the military, just letting you know. And he's like, what? He's like, oh, okay, I guess. But, and then I was like, oh, is this what I want to do? I don't know. Is this me? And then I guess I don't know. I was like, I remember the girls I met at that modeling shoot, and they were telling me about all these agencies and all this stuff that you could do. And I'm like, maybe I'll give it a shot. Maybe I'll try and, you know, hook up with one of these agencies and, you know, get a contract. And so that's pretty much what happened. I sent some headshots out, and they responded. And next thing I know, I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to join the military. And so I'm going to go to LA and meet with this agent, and
total opposite.
That started. Yeah. So I'm like, I can still travel, but you know, I'm not going to be like having to tell, I don't know, everybody knowing my business. But at the same time, in modeling, a lot of people do still know your business. It's just in a very different way, I guess. But that's kind of how that happened.
Oh my gosh. That is really cool. And I mean, modeling is a world that like, you actually were a model, right? Like people are like, oh, I'm on Instagram, I'm a model. And it's like, no, like in agencies doing stuff. Like talk to me about some of the things you've gotten to do or unique opportunities, or, you know, did you have a favorite shoot or event, or I don't know. I mean, tell us a little bit more about what that life was like.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Definitely. You meet people from all over the world. You meet some really cool people. Also some crazies for sure. I guess, so the thing about with an agency is because I modeled with my agency, and that was like a 3-year contract. But then on the side, I was also finding work through freelance, because when you're with your agency, there's in the beginning, and I kind of knew this because I did a lot of research going in. I was like, okay, well, I might not get work for a while. You have to build your portfolio, and you have to do all these test shoots and all this. And, you know, you're going to be losing money because you have to be paying your agent to be promoting you. And so for a while you're there, and I'm just kind of like living in like the model house, which is this apartment with all these bedrooms and, you know, little twin beds, and you got your roommates, and we're all just kind of hanging out. And all the girls are just, you know, some of them are just like FaceTiming their families back home, wherever they're from. And we're all just like, okay, yeah, you know, how's your book coming along? And have you gotten any work? And yada, yada. And so it was kind of just like bland for a little bit. And I'm like, all right. But then eventually, you know, you get your first job. And I remember my first job, it was like, it was actually just shoes. It was for Moschino. And I go to my first job and I didn't really know what to wear, what to expect. So I get there, I got there early. And the next thing I know, like, we're just waiting a lot. Me and like the male model, we're just waiting for like hours. And I'm like, is this how it always is? He's like, yeah, I usually wait a while. And then I don't know about this long. We're like there for like 4 hours, just like eating the snacks. And I'm just like drinking cup of tea after tea after tea. And I could go in the bathroom. So I'm like, when are we going to start? And eventually we finally start. And it's like, once you get started, it's like, okay, go, go, go. Come on. You know what you're doing? Like, get these shoes on. Come on. And so you have these two people, and that's how it is at all the jobs. You have like a person on each side of you, and they're kind of like, all right, let's get you changed. Come on, like, you know, go, pose, come back, get you changed, go. But my first one, it was just shoes, so it was like that with my feet. And there was this pair of boots that were thigh-high boots, and I remember they couldn't get them on my legs. They couldn't get them up like past my calves because I guess I had big calves. Okay. And I knew because even my agent would tell me, like, she's like, oh, wow, like, you're very fit. You know, we should get you booked with, like, some of these athletic brands or whatever. And, I mean, yeah, I was fit. Like, I always worked out, right? Like, I would always go running. But it wasn't, you know, obviously nothing like right now. Like, since I started CrossFit, obviously I've gained, like, so much weight of just, like, muscle and also just, like, fat to cushion the muscle and to survive the volume of training, right? But like when I was modeling, I was all like sunken in, and so like literally so like, oh, you're so fit, so like, you can't get these boots on. And I was like, oh my god, this is so embarrassing. They had to like bring in this girl and put them on her and pretend it was my leg, and I was like, I'm gonna get another job. But eventually I did.
Yeah, that's like I imagine that would be really hard though for like you just like in the moment and like your confidence, because you're like, it's just my calves, it's just my legs. Like, I mean, like we've all put on a pair of pants that doesn't fit over our ass, right? Like,
yeah,
being in the middle of like a modeling gig, trying to put these boots on and just being like, I'm failing at life right now.
And they're all just staring at you, and they're like, and there's just like a language barrier because these people are Swedish and they just came in, they got their luggage and everything, like they just arrived, and they're just like, what's going on? Like, hello, like you send us this girl and she can't even wear the shoes. But and then they sent me home early, and I was like, oh my gosh, I really messed up. I don't know what I did. And then I don't know. My second job was, or after that, the jobs were better, similar, but I was like, okay, I know what to expect now. But
yeah, that's really nerve-wracking. And so as far as like the shows like America's Next Top Model or something like that, I mean, do you feel like that's like an accurate representation of what your life was actually like, or is that kind of like frou-frou like for TV?
I mean, yes and no. I'm trying to, I don't know if I watched the show. I feel like I've seen a couple episodes maybe. I mean, yeah, like it's obviously going to be like all dramatic, but yeah, in a way, because you're there and it's just, you know, like I said, it's just so fast. Most of my work was like catalog for e-com sites, and where you're just there for 8 hours and they just, you know, the two people just, all right, go, you know, 1, 2, 3, come back, change it, 1, 2, 3, and then that's it. And then you get paid and leave. But that's another thing, because which is why a lot of us would end up getting freelance work, because with the agencies, the checks, they take a while to come. They might take, you know, several months. And then you get your check and you're like, oh, this is significantly less than what I thought it was going to be. And then they're like, well, yeah, because, well, we were updating your headshots and doing this and that, and we have to charge you for all these things. And then, oh, you're living in the model house, so that's this much per week or whatever. And you're like, oh, well, then why can't I just go find this work on my own, not tell you, and then get paid that same day? It's not going to be as much, but at least you're getting paid and you're not losing all this. You're not getting all this stuff taken from you. Yeah. And you also have you can decide more what
Mhm.
you're going to do rather
Mhm.
than someone be like, okay, you're an object who works for me, so you go do this.
Yeah.
But it is more risky. Freelance is definitely more risky. There's more crazies, but I mean, you just gotta trust yourself that you can read people before you
Did
do
you
that.
ever like miss it? Do you ever miss modeling? Did you I mean, you do like some photo shoots here and there, but like do you ever do anything for it? Would you ever go back to it? Why did you get out of it?
I wouldn't go back full time. Um, Sometimes I miss it in like a creative way if I want to do something artsy.
Mhm.
Not necessarily like just like trying to sell a product or having to promote something. That's kind of like But if I can just like be myself and because if I'm in front of the camera, I like to just I like to be very expressive and I like more unorthodox, weird, just crazy stuff versus like, okay, I'm gonna show you this here, what we're doing. But
You like this?
yeah, versus being like a clothes hanger, exactly.
Yeah.
Um,
Put that.
but occasionally, I'm the happiest I've ever been doing CrossFit for sure. I feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
I
So.
love that. That's amazing. How have you made the transformation from a modeling body to a CrossFit body? Because that's pretty different, right? Like, so you said you've gained a lot, your body is different. Like, what are we talking? So you're 5'8", wink, wink. Won't tell anyone. No,
Yeah.
you're like I know like weight isn't a big deal, but for people out there listening to kind of conceptualize, what you went from to what you're at now, or like shape, what is that? How does that change? And what's kind of the difference there in like body stature?
So, um, whenever I first started doing CrossFit and I was working out, and at the time I actually had like a Fitbit, it's an Apple Watch, but I had a Fitbit and it was telling me the calories I was burning. And I realized I was like, oh my gosh, I'm burning twice as many calories doing just the class versus when I would just go on a little run at home or whatever. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna eat a lot more. I'm a lot hungrier. And so I feel like the first like 10 pounds I gained came so easily. It just felt so natural. And I feel like that's kind of where I was supposed to be because I was
Mhm.
always trying to keep it down. Like, no, we gotta, eat my lettuce, eat my greens, drink water to keep it, keep everything slimmed down.
Mhm.
Um, versus now I'm like, well, why do I have to do that for? I mean, at this point, who cares? I'm not getting in front of a camera anymore. So at this point, it's all about performance. So you might as well just shove all the fuel in that you can get. um, and so I feel like the way I looked at food it changed. It was different. I started seeing it as like, okay, this is my fuel. This is what's going to make me go versus like, this is what I need to take care of myself to be healthy. And then that's the bare minimum. And, that's it.
That's it. Mhm.
Um, and also just other things that you're putting inside your body, like with modeling, there's a lot of partying going on. There's a big party scene with everybody you hung out with, because you go
Mhm.
do this and then we'd all go be like, all right, we're going out tonight. Let's all look cute and hit the club or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and then with CrossFit, it's like, okay, let's go home. We're going to go to bed. We're going to get 8 hours of sleep. We're going to wake up. We're going to feel good. And we're going to eat a nice big breakfast and get it down. But as far as like the scale, I feel like I just, if I ever use a scale, it's to make sure I'm keeping my weight up. I'm not
Mm.
like losing weight because I feel like at this point it's so easy for my weight to just go down if I'm not constantly consuming food. And so
Totally.
that if I ever step on a scale, it'll be for that.
Mhm.
Because I know as the season gets more rolling and we're training for semifinals, I'm going to be consuming like at least twice as many carbs as I'm eating now. And even like if I just look at myself in pictures, I'm like, wow, I'm so much more bloated then than I am now. But it's like, because I'm eating it all. Or the training is just so intense that you're just shoving so much in your body, and you can't do that all year long. In the off season, you're taking a break from not just like the mental side of like the stress of competing and the training, but also all the food that you're consuming and just constantly trying, because it's a chore to constantly being like, okay, I need to meet my macros. I need another protein shake before I go to bed because I didn't get enough in today. But I don't know. I feel like I'm getting off topic.
Oh, it's great. It's really good because you're doing a really nice job like sharing what the reality of things are, and they do change. And sometimes they're this way and sometimes they're that way. And you have to listen to your body and like develop that relationship, right? And that's kind of what we're talking about with going from modeling, where food could be almost like the enemy. It's going to keep you from something. It's going to make you a certain way. Whereas like food is all of a sudden you rewrite that relationship with food.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of, we talk about this with the Swole Kitchen a lot, like rewriting that relationship with food. And people are like, well, why is it a relationship? Like it's an inanimate object. And it's like, because what you put in your body creates reaction. Like 1 + 1 is 2, right? And when you're able to do that and change that, but also change it for performance in season versus off season, right? And you said that you double up carbs. Like, so in off season, let's give people an idea of like how many carbs, or if or a general amount, what do you eat? How many do you eat in off season as compared to like on season if you're going to double that?
I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I kind of count my macros, not really. I kind of just go. So when I'm in full swing, we're training for semifinals, let's say, then I'm trying to get 500 to 600 grams of carbs a day.
Yeah. See, that's even that's not spot on, but that gives people a general idea of like why not to be afraid of carbs, or how carbs are going to fuel your performance and give you that glycogen load, and how, when you're demanding a lot of your body, or even when, you're fasting, right? Like glycogen can only stay in the liver for so long. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, what's next? Muscle. Let's eat it. You know what I mean? And that's where like body fat. Well, in your situation, you're maybe not concerned as much as body fat and like the way that you look, but more so like how you perform. Right. And then that kind of like along with it. It's not something where it's like aesthetic, then performance. And that's kind of like a rewrite that I think a lot of people kind of miss because of like social media and pressures and like, women and men and comparison and things like that. Do you think there's been times where you've struggled with body image, body transformation, like as your body was changing to more, you've always been kind of an athlete, right? But more of an intense elite level athlete. How have you changed your perspective on your body? Or has that been kind of something, a part of you that's been solid in like your identity and the way that you viewed yourself?
So I feel like when I started CrossFit, it just felt like just freedom in many different ways, because okay, let's say it's July. Obviously, you're going to still see this whether it's January, February, but let's say it's July and it's really hot out and you go to the gym and people, they don't have a lot of clothes on. You're wearing your sports bra, you're wearing shorts that are, this long, everything's showing. And it's kind of, there's a freedom to that, to know that you can go and it's not going to be pretty. You're going to be making noises. You're grunting, you're sweating, you're spitting, I'm crying.
People are peeing,
Yeah, you're just kind of freeing all that energy, and nobody cares. Nobody's going to be like, whoa, what's going on over there? And it's very freeing to know that you can step into a gym and just kind of be a human, be who you are, and make all the noise and stomp your feet and flap your skin around, right? But as far as like body image and stuff, I feel like I dealt with that more like years before I ever did modeling, before all that. Because I mean, I did go through a phase like late high school, early college, where I was all about like I would only wear super baggy clothes. I didn't shave anything. I didn't shave my legs. I would be barefoot. I was like against shoes, and
Yeah.
like I didn't wear shoes anywhere, and that my feet had like this thick of a layer underneath.
Oh my goodness.
And it was like, I don't know if it was like my way of like trying to say like fuck you to the world, like
I
don't
hate
look
all
at
of
me, like yeah. And then I don't know, by the time I got into modeling, like then it was like totally different. And that was something that was just such a bore to me, how just all the maintenance, you know, they're like, oh well, your nails have to look nice, you know, for this and that. And I'm like, my nails? Are you kidding me? Like I'm gonna chew them off. I don't cut them. It's like they're gone. Like, you know, like I'm not gonna get waxes. Like what? But you know, it's just all this maintenance. And then but
It's
now in
expensive.
CrossFit, it's like that's all out the door. Nobody cares about that. If you care about it, then you know, that's all if you want to. But it's just
Yeah.
I feel very free when I'm at the gym. It feels like this is who I am. You know, I like to move around. I like to move my body. I like to compete, and I like to perform. And that's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. I love that. And like, there's, yeah, it's interesting. And like upkeep sometimes can be so expensive. Like I can't even imagine on the model side of things, right? Like you have, and I have this conversation with men a lot and they're like, I don't
Yeah.
understand what you're talking about. And it's like, okay, eyelashes, nails, Botox, clothes, waxes. Like you're looking at like,
Yeah.
you know, $200, $500, $1,000 a month. I mean, for some
Per month, per every few weeks.
you can look at both of us, probably not that much, but hair, you know what I mean? It's like a lot of microblading, waxing, eyebrow. I mean, it's just like, it's nutty, you know what I mean? And it's like stressful. And like, if that's your routine and that's cool for you, and like that helps your confidence. And, you know, a lot of people are like, well, I do it for me. I don't do it for someone else. And like, if that's your thing, that's fabulous. You know what I mean? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But for some other cases, like you're saying, like being in CrossFit and being in the functional space, like it's amazing. It's almost primal, right? And I think that kind of gets back.
Yes, primal. Yes, exactly.
It's like that kind of beginning part of CrossFit and why it started, right? And like a lot of the quotes and a lot of like you don't need a lot of equipment. You don't need all these crazy things. You just go in there and function, and like it's just an unmatched feeling, right?
Yes.
That's
I
yeah.
feel like it's just so natural, like to like how you feel like when you're done working out, right? And that's when once you finish the workout and you're just like and all the endorphins are kicking in, you're just hanging out with the people at your gym and just talking about whatever. That's when I feel like we're in our most natural state, like in my opinion. I don't know how to explain it, but you're I don't know, you feel so free in that moment. You're just like hanging out, enjoying your time, you know, kicking back. You're like, yeah, you know, we were just, you know, screaming a second ago. We're all yelling at each other, like, come on, come on. And now we're laying on the floor and our bodies are numb.
Well, and if you don't have that at your gym, you guys, like, go get it. Go find a community where you can find that connection and go, like, you're not stuck. You're not like, even though you might have accountability to those people, doesn't necessarily mean like if you want that feeling, go get it. Create that opportunity for yourself and create that community and like, and really feel what it feels like to just have like that primal instinct and that like primal give and like that recovery and like flush of emotions. And like, that's the uniqueness of CrossFit. I think that's what makes CrossFit like almost addictive for a lot of people, or just like necessary. I guess you would be a nicer way to, more healthy way of saying that.
Yes. And that's something like, because there's like the stereotype where like people like don't shut up about CrossFit, right? And that was the thing whenever I first heard about it, because my husband had started a few months before me, and his brother was also doing it, but it was like a total separate thing. And every day he would just talk about it nonstop. And he's like, Abby, you got to do this. Like, you need to join. You would love it so much. You need to join. You need to join. And I was just like, shut up. Like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Like, yeah. And it
I'll go for a
wasn't until we saw, I guess like the 2019, like fittest documentary was released on Netflix sometime in 2020. And we decided to watch it. Me, Anton, and my brother-in-law, Ralph, we're all just watching it. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, that's cool. What is, the CrossFit Games? Like, that's cool. That's legit. I want to do that. That's what I want to do. I don't want to go to a class and just work out with other people. Like, I want to compete against like the fittest in the world. Like, that's what I want to do. And so pretty much when I started, I knew that I didn't want to just do it for fun. I didn't just want to do it as a hobby. I wanted to be legit, and like, I wanted to be the best. So I just kind of started training hard. Slowly. I slowly started adding more volume, but and of course I wasn't super dedicated. Like, I remember I look back at last year and I thought I was just so dedicated and just willing to make all these sacrifices. But then I compare it to this year and I'm like, oh, it doesn't even compare. Like, the things that I'm willing to give up now versus then are totally different. And I thought I was so dedicated then, but I'm like, no, it's like totally different mindset this year, I'd say, just the way I look at it.
So when you say like the things that you're willing to give up, things you're willing to change, you throwing
Sorry.
stuff. Okay, bye. No.
I have the worst ears.
Well, welcome back. Okay, my AirPods don't stay in my ears either. That's clear. I don't like headphones. Like a lot of podcasters, like I have headphones on, and I'm like,
I have the switchy ones and they don't.
But, you know, look at us, not good. No. So you talk about some of those things that you're willing to give up, and the things that are different. Like, tell us a little bit about what's different. What have you given up? What does it take to go from I think I'm dedicated to I am in this? Like, what does it take?
So for me personally, I feel like, so obviously, so you're going to upset people because you have to be selfish in this sport, right? You have to put your training first. You have to put your sleep first. You have to put your eating first, and you have to do your recovery. And so you're going to upset people who want to hang out with you, want to see you, and want, come on, I haven't seen you forever. Like, let's go out. No, I can't go out. We can lunch, but that's it. And so, especially if it involves family, or if it involves my family or Anton's family, and they just have so many things going on, and then you feel bad because you're like, oh, I love you guys, but I can't go on this trip. Or you can't go to this wedding, or you have to just miss certain things, and it feels like you're disappointing people. But then you have to be like, well, this is what I have to do, and you just can't really see it any other way. As far as comparing like last year to this year, I feel like just like certain things like drinking alcohol, I was a little bit more lenient about stuff like that last year. I'd be like, well, I can have a few, my competition isn't for a while, so I'll go out tonight. But, this year I'm more like, no, why put that in my body? One beer, one glass of wine, that's okay if it's the right time, but, no overdoing it, stuff like that. And honestly, it was like 2 weeks before semifinals that I finally stopped smoking weed. And I was like, why am I just clicked in my head. I'm like, why am I putting smoke in my lungs when I need my lungs to do this? And I just kept trying to tell myself, I'm like, oh, well, recovery, it'll help me eat, or, whatever I could come up with, or inflammation. And I was like, no, that's the stupidest thing. Like, just stop. And so I just stopped cold turkey, and now I'm like, wasn't that hard?
Do you feel like you noticed?
Like that.
Do you feel like you noticed with your lungs, like the difference, like afterwards, or was it kind of just like maybe not that big of a difference, but then it was kind of like developing that lifestyle and then just being like, does this work with my lifestyle? Does this work with where I want to go? Like, or did you feel physical difference or?
Physically, I'm not sure. I would like, it's just so hard to tell. I feel like I'd have to like go into a day where, because like, I mean, I smoked for like years, like from like mid-teens till like every day for just years. So I'd have to physically, I don't know. It's hard to tell, I guess maybe, but lifestyle, yes, I do feel like, yeah, you don't get into that weird mind where you just kind of let certain things pass and your focus is a little bit more groggy. You're not going to be as sharp, even if you think like, oh, it's not affecting me. You know, I'm the same person I was, but you're going to be more anxious, and you just don't need that whenever you have a goal that you have to be so focused on, and it's going to take every essence of your being to do. Don't try and take anything away from that. You don't need any extra anxiety. You don't need any grogginess in your mind. You don't need any reason to start thinking like, oh, I miss traveling. I want to, go do this and that. But it's like, you got to keep doing what you're trying to do. Otherwise, because you're not going to get there if you don't. It's too competitive. There's too many people who want to do what you're trying to do. So just be all in. That's it.
Well, it's a little bit of like getting out of your own way, right? Like there are certain things you can control, and there are definitely certain things that you can't. But then like habits or behaviors or engagements or, making those sacrifices, like they can be things that get in your way, and it's really up to you. It's not up to anyone else, and it's up to you if you have that moral obligation or that desire to do or not do certain things, right? And that goes into kind of like the family conversation or the friends conversation and like making different sacrifices. And, it's different talking to different athletes and like different levels, right? Like you're in a very big phase. You haven't been doing CrossFit how long have you even been doing CrossFit? It's like a couple of years.
Like 2.5. What month is it? It's October. Like close to 2.5. Close. Something like that.
And you've been to semifinals. You know what I mean? Like you came from a background where you weren't like super athletic at the time. Like you had to build the skill, you had to build the muscle, and like you're on a very fast trajectory, and that's one of the things like originally when we reached out was like, holy crap, like this girl's going somewhere. You know what I mean? Like she's got something like a lot of people don't have, and that's one of the uniqueness. And you can see it in like the intensity of your focus. You can see it in the way that you approach your training, your lifestyle. You guys are hearing it here on the podcast, but if you go look at Abby's social, you see that same type of like hungry lifestyle and that hungry like attitude, right? Where it's like, get the fuck out of my way, like I'm going for the next person, right? But move it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, hell yeah, that's me. But it's true, you know what I mean? Like, oh, AirPod down. But yeah. But what you're talking about is like also finding that like hunger and desire and drive within yourself. And that means cutting out certain things or changing certain things, right? Yeah. You said that Anton, it seems like he introduced you to CrossFit, right? Like, and was like, come on. He seems like your number one. Wait, let's go back. Is that not true?
No, I was going to say, so he had signed me up for CrossFit behind my back.
Oh,
like, he was like, I signed you up. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to go if you don't want to, but I signed you up for 3 months. And I was like, well, you already paid for it, so I have to go. I'm like,
it's like 4:00 on Thursday. You're like, did you give me a massage? He's like, no, I at a gym for a second.
Yeah.
Actually.
But, yeah.
Oh, that is so funny. Oh my gosh. Well, good job, Anton. Air high fives. So he's like your number one support. You guys are married. How long you guys been married?
We got married in December December last year. So what is it, like 9 months, 10 months, something like that. It'll be a year in December.
Oh my gosh. So how did you guys meet then?
So we met, I was working at this restaurant. I was a server, but for some reason that day I picked up my friend's shift who she was supposed to host, and she was like, oh, can you come host for me, please? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I go. He comes in and he's kind of just talking to me, hey, what's up? And I was like, he asked for my number. I'm like, no, you can have my Instagram handle, sure. And then he's kind of messaging me later, a week later, whenever, and I'm just kind of not really into it. He's like, come on, let's go to a concert. Let's go eat some steaks. Let's go do something fun. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not looking for any sort of commitments like that right now. But eventually I don't even know how this got brought up. He was like, well, you could bring a friend. You could bring a friend on the date and it'll be us three and we'll go out. And I was like, okay, that sounds interesting. So I called my friend.
Come on.
Yeah. He's like, come on, ladies. And I'm like, that actually sounds fun. So I called my friend. I'm like, hey, want to go on like a 3-way date with this guy? She's like, oh, sure. Yeah, come on. And so she gets in my car. And just in case it's weird, we both I'm like, here, take my knife. And we're like, no, tuck that in just in case. And then we meet him at some public parking lot. We go, have the date. And me and my friend, we're just kind of like the whole time, like being weird girls. And then it's fine. It goes really well. And then we end up going back to his apartment where he lives with his brother. We meet his brother. The four of us just hang out like till late, early morning. And like, okay, that was fun. And then we leave. And me and Anson, we just kind of become really good friends for a few months. And we hang out a lot. Eventually we do go on this trip. At the time I was actually living with my parents, and we were going to take this trip to Mexico, and but my parents didn't know I was like seeing anybody, because when we met I had just turned 19. He was 26, about to turn 27, and I don't know why I was like, oh, maybe my parents would think he's too old for me or something, so I never told them about him. But then we go to Mexico, and I say that I'm going with this girl, Kim. I'm like, yeah, me and Kim, we're going to Mexico. But I'm actually going with him. And then, I don't know, eventually so we go. It's a fun trip. We come back. Then we're going to go to Mexico again for a wedding. And then I'm charging my phone, and he's texting me like, don't forget your passport. But at this point, I think I told my mom that I was going to College Station for some Renaissance fair or something like that. And she's like, who is this man texting you about your passport? And she just freaks out, and then he drives to my house, and then that's when he finally meets my parents, and they love him. But
I'm not really, but I'm Anton.
That was 6 or 7 years ago. And then we date for a while, and then we eventually got married. So, but yeah,
it's a good origin.
And I moved out. I moved in with him eventually, like a few months after that, I think.
That's pretty great. Oh my goodness. Where did you guys get married? Did you do it in Texas?
So we were gonna just go like sign the papers at the courthouse, and we thought that we had to make an appointment. And so we wake up, he's getting dressed to go to work. I just throw on a t-shirt and some leggings. Then we go, they're like, oh, you can just get married today. So I was like, I guess we'll just get married today. And then I'm telling my mom, and my mom's freaking out. She's like, no, she's like, don't do it. I have to be there. Like, I will never forgive you if I'm not there. And I'm like, well, we're going to have a wedding. And she's like, I don't believe you. You're like, no, you're not. I have to be there. She's like, wait an hour. I'm jumping in the shower right now. And she's like, okay, I have to go pick up your dad from the airport. I'm on my way. I'm coming. And so both my parents come, and they watch us get married. And she's like, Abby, these pictures are terrible. You're wearing like your Red Hot Chili Pepper t-shirt. You just woke up. Like, but, and then we kept telling her, we're like, we're going to have a wedding. We'll have a party. And I don't know. It's not looking like it. because we're just like, well, we're already married. Do we really have to get everybody involved?
Which 9 months later.
Yeah, and like, but both the moms are just like, oh, well, let's plan the wedding, and we're just like, we'll see. Maybe one day in 3 years from now we'll have the wedding.
Yeah, it's kind of like an anniversary party. Like you could like renew your vows or something, right? Or
Yeah,
like
one
write
day.
some vows
And we do
or
need pictures, so
pictures. Yeah, a good picture together. You know, that's okay.
Yeah, just a white sheet, and so we're.
You guys could do those ghost photos where you just put on like the sheet and like be like, "Mom, happy Halloween." Is your engagement photos? Yeah. Like the pumpkins on your. Yeah.
It's Halloween. Come on.
Yeah. I'll be like, gosh damn it, Abby.
Yeah, but now she's like, I'm just gonna stop asking. She's like, but you do need some photos. So she's like, I don't care if you guys have the wedding at this point. And I'm like, well, because you went to see us get married.
Right?
She's like, yeah, I would have killed you.
You remember that hour I waited, Mom? Just that's like your trump card all the time.
Yeah.
That hour?
We're just in the courthouse, like. But yeah, we're legal, so.
There you go. And honestly, like, I think that's a really nice. I think that says a lot about you as a person, like in the way that you value what you guys share. And like, I mean, I say that in a good way. That sounds like fucked, but like, honestly, that in a really good way, because it's like, where's your value system? Your value system isn't in like, you don't need that external validation for that internal, like what you guys share, right? Sorry,
exactly.
That was really quickly, but definitely didn't want to go. But it's true, right? And some people, this kind of goes back to like the how we talked about makeup and the vanity or like the aesthetic, right?
Yeah.
Some people want that and they love that for themselves. Other people, in like relationships and like marriage and things like that, they don't need that, right? And you guys have something very unique and it's working and it's wholesome. And I mean, you can see it in the photos that you do have, you know, from your guys' trips and things like that. You can just tell that's your person, you know?
And that's just the thing, because like, I mean, and we've gone like there was a point where so many of Anton's friends were just all getting married at the same time. Like every month we would go to a different wedding, and they were just the most extravagant, just like fairy tale weddings. And that's amazing. Like they were so cool to go to, but we're just like, is this what people would expect from us? Because this just doesn't. That's just not us, you know. Like that's not me. That's not him. That's a lot of attention and just not something that we'd be looking for. And it's amazing that, you know, some people, yes, that's what they want and they do it and it turns out so beautiful and it's so nice, but that's what they want to do. And I'm just like, well, I want to just train. I just want to do CrossFit while I can, so that later when I'm like, I'm sick of this, let's just, you know, retire from competing and start popping out kids, you know. That'll be my new thing, because I do something, and when I'm doing it, that's like my whole being, that's my whole essence. I give my all into it, and then when I'm done, I move on, I go to the next phase, just turn the page, and then find something else, and then that becomes my new thing in life. And that's just that. I don't know, I become very extreme at whatever I'm doing. I can't just be like, you know, just casually rolling through. I mean, I guess I did do that for a little bit when I was like younger, trying to figure out my whole who am I, whatever. But now I'm just like, no, like I know who I am, I know exactly what I want, so that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, and I think that you like kind of train that over time, right? Like commitments can be scary, you know what I mean? And changing me scary, but like it's also a really nice way to not have like regrets, right? When you know that you gave a full-fledged effort, or like you gave everything you could to something to make it work, and it could be the best that it could be. And if it doesn't exactly fit the mold or fit what it could have been, you're able to like walk away from that knowing that you gave your best effort and now it's time to move on, right?
Exactly. That is a great feeling to know that you gave it your all, no matter how it turns out. Like, nobody can take that away from you.
Exactly.
So,
And that's that effort within you, and that those questions you have to ask yourself. And like, do I do this for external validation? Do I do this for external reasons? Other people, other companies, other, I don't know, whatever you do. Or do I do this for my internal reasons? And like, what are my values that I'm going to live out in this or in every situation? And how do those change? And do you feel like, you said you kind of like do things to the extreme, and like in a way you do, you have to like put your blinders up and like stay in your lane and pursue that lane as hot and fast as you have to. But have there been times in your life where you were in those extremes and that didn't work out for you necessarily? Or is it kind of back to that like positive growth mindset over a fixed mindset? Like, oh yeah, it just didn't work and it moved on. Like,
yeah, I mean, there was definitely some situations that I put myself in where I'm just like, what am I doing? Like, this is not okay. This is not good. But then I tell myself, I'm like, I'll look back and I'll be like, yeah, I mean, I learned from that. And even if it was a bad experience, I mean, to me, a good experience, a bad experience, I think it's just cool and it adds more to your story. And you just, I don't know, it makes you wiser, and it helps with other situations that you're going to have to face later. And so,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it kind of goes both ways. Yes, there's just however you want to look at it. If it's, you want to see it as a positive light, or no, that was bad, you're in a hole trying to get yourself out of there. But
There's also kind of like a level of forgiveness that comes along with that, with yourself. You know what I mean? Like, and I think like you could probably relate to this. I know I certainly can. There's definitely been a time in my life when partying and like things and people were a thing, and that they're not a thing. They're not necessarily healthy, and they're not. No, we won't go too far into that. But
yes.
uh, you know, you being in the modeling world or college or like high school. And I mean, I know you're a little renegade in there. I know you are. And it's it. I know you know too. But you know what I mean? Like you go through shit and you're just kind of like, man, that like wasn't an expression of me. That wasn't an expression of like who I want to be, the way I want to treat myself, what I want to do with my life. And like you can find a way to be like, yeah, I'm glad I did it. There's a lot of fucked up stuff, but you know, I learn, I move on, you know?
Yes.
And I mean, even the same thing, like on a much more lesser level in a weird way is like CrossFit, right? Like, so we go back to your journey of this last like 2.5 years. I mean, you're excelling, you're, you know, your foot is on the gas, you're hitting it hard. There's going to be times where you're not up to the expectation. There's going to be bad training days. There's going to be days where like you fall flat on your face, or you're sitting there looking at the barbell crying, or you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure there have been times where you go home to Anton and be like, I don't want to do this, you know?
Okay.
But there, right? I mean, like, that's true. You can attest to that, right?
Yeah.
I
yes,
mean,
definitely. Yeah, and I mean, the sooner that you can just accept that it's gonna be a ride, you're gonna be up and down, then the better. You know, if you think like, oh, you're just gonna make progress all day, every day, like, and in the beginning, you are gonna make progress pretty much every day for the first year or whatever, and it's gonna feel amazing, and then it's gonna start slowing down, and then you're gonna start your numbers, or you're gonna be like, oh, why couldn't I hit my max today, or why do I feel like this today? But then you're just like, oh, because that's just how it goes. It's normal. And so if you, I mean, it's so cliche. Like, yeah, if you don't have the bad days, then you're never gonna have the good days. You can't just have a good day every day. It's like, what is it, The Incredibles, where they're like, if everyone's super, then nobody's super. You know, but if you have only good days, then there's no such thing as good days. And so, and I think it's kind of fun to have, and I mean, literally, if I had a dime for every time I've cried at the gym, like, I am the most emotional person ever. Like, but those days I'm like, okay, yes, I was so angry, I was so upset, but then I still did it, and I conquered that. And that's just going to help me up here to know that if I could do it then, where it was so hard and I hated it so much, then I could do it again. Why not?
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think that's like literally the definition of resilience, right?
Yeah.
Constantly facing adversity and molding and overcoming, right? Being like an emotional person, how has CrossFit tried you in that sense? And how have you navigated that? I mean, stepping into more of like a full-time space and like pursuing the games and doing even better at semifinals. And how have you kind of like tamed the lion, I guess you could say, of like a lion heart in a way?
So I feel like the more emotional you are, the more you get to experience the fruits of life. I feel like so your highs are like just shooting for the stars. It's so amazing. But then you go down, you hit those lows. But both are kind of special in their own way. You really need to feel them both instead of just sitting in that middle ground where everything is just kind of just simple and bland. I definitely it gets me excited because I know whenever I'm about to do something, I get really fired up about it, and like it's when I look at people who, let's say they're about to do a lift and it's a PR, it's higher than their max and they're about to attempt it, and I look at their expressions and their body language, and if they're just kind of like going up to the bar, whereas I'm like, okay, everybody, like I'm about to I'm about to go crazy right now.
You're like that little gopher meme.
Like, I have to hype myself up.
Yeah.
I have to. I'm slapping myself. I'm kicking. I'm getting ready to go. And when I see people who are just so chill about to do it, I'm like, you think you're gonna hit that? What? Like, I could never. I'm like, I would not even be able to pull it off the ground. And it's just those emotions that you get to experience that every day in the gym. Of just hopping on that ride and just going up. And then, you might not do it. And then you're just, kind of down on yourself. But then you turn the music up about, you're like, okay, come on, let's go. Get back in there. I don't even know how to explain it. But I'm very, I mean, I laugh all day and then I
cry all night.
But it's not even, I don't know, that's just me. That's just, I think you get more out of life like that. You get to experience life to the fullest.
Yeah. Well, and it's good to know that about yourself, right? Because that's what like creates like enrichment, or that's what creates that fulfillment, right? For some people, it's other stuff, and it's about not what they do, it's about what you do. And if it's people look at you and they're like, that girl's insane, she's like hitting herself right now. Like, let her just exist, support her. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, you don't have to like take away from that. Like, that's unique, right? And like social media, and like, it tells you to be like this, or it tells you to be like that, or you have to look like this and you have to do this. And like, if you do this, you're weird. And it's like, no, just do your thing. Be you, man. Like, enjoy your life. It's your life.
Yes, that's something 100% I learned from CrossFit is just, I don't know, because I don't really see that in other sports necessarily. Like, I remember in track, I did pole vault, and, going back, I would be like, okay, I gotta hype myself up, go get that over the bar. But I don't know, it's just something I see mostly just in CrossFit. Like, even in weightlifting, you don't always see that the way. I mean, you can see it. I don't know. I've heard weightlifting meets you're supposed to be quiet or something. But even if you watch like Tia Toomey, when she walks up to the bar, she like marches. She's and then she does it. It's not just like pick up bar. Come on, let's do it. And that's just something I see in CrossFit. Like, it's all about just like, do whatever you need to do and however you want to do it. And we all just accept it. We just, however it is, we're all just going to accept how it is. And I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into a little bit of, what does your nutrition look like on a day-to-day basis? How do your Swolverine supplements fit into your lifestyle and your training? What does that routine look like? And how does that fuel your health and your performance?
So, as I mentioned, basically you're just trying to eat as much as you can. As far as getting like micronutrients, I definitely just try to, I've kind of started meal prepping a bit. Sometimes we forget, but for the most part, we're meal prepping, and we always make sure to add a vegetable into every single one of our meals, because I used to really not eat enough vegetables at all. And then I was like, okay, well, I could just take a multivitamin, and but no, it's not the same thing.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. I'm like, well, no, you have to actually eat it. So as far as supplements, I mean, I have to be taking supplements. So I'm going to take my Swolverine protein and carbs after every single training session, no matter what, because I would not meet my macros. I would not meet my protein count. No way. And I need the extra carbs. And of course, creatine. You have to take creatine. I'll take my creatine before. I'll take my beta-alanine before. And I mean, I noticed the difference if I'm like, oh shoot, I forgot to take my beta-alanine today. I'm like, oh, maybe that's why I didn't do that good. But nah, but oh yeah, I mean, it plays a big part. But I think definitely you got to have that foundation first before you just start adding in all these supplements. I think, obviously Swolverine is all about helping performance athletes. So they're trusting that these athletes are already going to be taking good care of themselves and just meeting their basic needs. And then they're going to add the supplements in. Whereas, I'll meet people and they'll be like, oh yeah, like, what supplements are you taking? You take this, and that. And like, that's what's going to get you here. And it's like, that's when you add that next level. It'll bring you up to the next level. But if you're not already naturally like taking care of your body and doing, just like the basic things. It's like when people are like, oh, I didn't sleep last night, so I'm just going to drink a bunch of coffee. And it's like, no, don't do that.
Yeah. Try some water.
Don't even work out.
Yeah, don't.
Take a couple. Just go back home, go to bed.
Go take a nap.
Like, I always thought stuff like that was just kind of common sense. But then you're talking to people and you're like, seriously? Like,
yeah.
Even the thing of like about food, like carbs. And I tell people, I'm like, yes, these are my carbs. I drink them after every single workout. And they think like, oh, you just need to have protein. You need more protein, this, and that. And I'm like, no, there's 3 macronutrients and you need all of them. You know, it's not just protein or fats or whatever. Like, you need all 3 to build your muscles. You know, you can't just drink protein or eat meat and then that's it, because you're not going to recover. You're never going to stop being sore. Your muscles going to continue to grow, because I'm sitting here right now and my muscles are eating the calories just because they exist. You know, it's not even like, oh, I'm working out, now I need to go eat because I worked out. It's like, no, you're sitting here, you have muscle, you have to keep like nourishing that. And but
well, that's, like we go into that a lot on the blog, right? The positive amino acid balance, so that your body is discouraged to eat your muscle, right? Like positive glycogen balance. Your body is discouraged to eat your muscle, because like that's usually the first thing that can go. It's not body fat, right? And so it's like if your muscles are fed and your body's like, oh, those are off limits today. What else do we have to like catabolize in the body? And then it's like, oh, body fat. Let's try that. And it sounds so silly, but it's, obviously not scientific. But that's like the whole reason why we added even in the Swole kitchen, right? Is because people would come to us at events. I remember this like 4 years ago. And people would come to us at events and be like, oh, well, I want this, or I want that, or I take this. And I'm like, I'm not going to sell that to you. I'm not, what do you eat? What do you, do you eat any protein from food? Do you get any carbs from food? And people would be literally, I'd be like upset that I'm like not going to sell them 5 products. And I'm like, I don't have anything for you today. And they're like, what the, who are you? You're the worst salesperson ever. And I'm like, actually, I'm not. I can put my head on my pillow tonight, but that's like where the conversation would stop. Right. And that's where we were kind of like, where can we make a bigger difference? Right. And it's like, that's where we added in nutrition coaching. Cause like that foundation, like you're saying, has to be there. And it's like not anything different than being in the gym and learning how to do a strict pull-up before you do a kipping pull-up, and a kipping pull-up before you do a butterfly pull-up. Like you can't make shortcuts, and you can, but eventually everything kind of like catches up to you in that sense. Yeah. And it's like, and then after you lay that foundation, then you begin to bridge the gaps with supplements. So you take a food first approach, bridge the gaps with your supplements, and then pursue that next level of performance. Right. And that's like exactly what you do. And it's supplementary, right? If you can get carbs from real food, you will. But in the event that you can't, you have to bridge the gaps, or like you're low on protein at the end of the day, cool. Hit a protein shake, brush your teeth, go to bed, So I think you do a really good job with that. What are some of your favorite carb sources for someone who, you have to have a lot of carbs? What are kind of your go-tos there?
So we eat a lot of rice. However, I'm not a big rice fan. But the reason we eat a lot of it is because it's so easy to make. So I can just throw it in my lunch or whatever. But I have this like weird like reflex thing where I have to constantly like be drinking water, otherwise the food will get stuck, and then I'm trying to get it out or figure out how to get it out because there's a bunch of like scars in there, so it's kind of narrow. So anything kind of starchy or that bunches up like rice, it'll get stuck. So for me, it's easier to eat things like mashed potatoes or like really creamy pasta. My favorite carb is mac and cheese, for sure. I can eat mac and cheese all day, every day. I try to keep a variety. I eat a lot of bread. Waffles, cereal, oatmeal, English muffins, and candy, for sure. Not candy at the right time. When I'm at the gym, I just did a Metcon. Now I'm going to lift some weights, so I'll eat some gummy whatever. I'm not just going to eat candy for breakfast. Of course not. But it's quick carbs. So, or even right before, I'll make myself some toast with like apricot jam, and that I'm gonna digest that super fast while I'm driving to the gym. Definitely fruit, bananas and apples. We always have those in the house. A lot of times I feel like when I wake up, I don't always want to eat first thing in the morning, but I know I need to start getting something in. So sometimes I'll just make myself a smoothie just to get something down to get my appetite started. And then I'll just put like frozen fruit, yogurt, whatever. I've been eating a lot of sunflower butter lately. That's super good. Or just a cup of milk. That's usually my go-to in the morning, a quick cup of milk. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm hungry. Now I can actually eat breakfast.
Yeah. But that's we talk about that in coaching a lot with clients, especially who are not hungry in the morning, who don't wake up hungry. Like that's okay, but like it's not we need to work on it. You should wake up hungry after a fast, right? And so it's like a lot of times if you just get something in your body, your hunger hormones will kick in and be like, oh, send to the brain, we are hungry, right? And that's like what you're saying, just a cup of milk, something simple.
Just something that, because like I feel like, I don't know, when you wake up, you feel your stomach hurts, like you're hungry, but the thought of eating, you're like, ugh, that just makes me nauseous. So you just like okay, let me just throw some berries in my mouth and then I'll be
Mm-hmm.
good in 20 minutes. But
Well, that's even like post-workout. A lot of people don't, they're like, I don't want to
yeah,
eat a meal. I don't want to eat chicken and rice right after my workout. And that's where like the carbs and protein, like a liquid delivery,
exactly.
like, yeah.
Exactly. That's why, like, I need to get something down because I just burned so much and I want to go home. I want to shower. So I'm going to drink that shake. It's
Mhm.
down. It's easy. I could actually digest it that way. Okay, I'm showered. Now I'm ready to eat a meal because
Mhm.
otherwise, yeah, no, I'm like, ugh, the thought of eating just sounds horrible.
So, what's next for Abby? You just completed the Fittest Qualifier, which is an online competition. The TFX is hosted in the end of January in Texas. It's a really fun event. If you guys are down there, make sure to catch Abby at it. Say hey, go cheer her on. But what's kind of next for you in your, athletic journey over the next few months? How are you going to get ready for the Open and heading into the season?
So I'm so excited for this season. Actually, in not this weekend, the following weekend, I'm competing in Tampico, Mexico. So
Mexico?
we had found out about that comp. Anton, uh, he was working in Monterrey, and he went
Mhm.
to Brenda Castro's gym. And one of the coaches there, he had trained at this other gym that I go to, and he's like telling Anton, he's like, hey, there's this big competition, payout's pretty good. Abby should do it. And then we looked into it, and they had invited some like really good athletes and all these people. So it
Mhm.
just felt
That's exciting.
cool, right? We found a good flight and whatever. So we're like, okay, yeah, let's do it. Why not?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go do that in like a week from Saturday or a week from Friday. And
Cool.
yes, and then the weekend after that, I'm actually doing a training camp. I've never done a training camp before, but I'm doing one with Golden Line Training. And
Okay.
a couple guys I know are doing it, and we've all been talking about it. So it sounds really cool. It sounds like I'll learn a lot. It sounds fun. So
Mhm.
gonna try that out. And then yeah, I'm just gonna be training, uh, just getting ready for it, doing all the
Mhm.
details. I feel like my first year was just about becoming overall generally fit,
Mhm.
getting into the kind of that CrossFit shape. And then I
Mhm.
feel like my second year was just about getting stronger. I needed to make a lot of strength gains. I needed to work on my skills for sure. So that's kind of where all that went. And then this
Fantastic.
third year, it's just, yeah, like learning how to do all the, like, what is it, stringing together, like muscle ups and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Just gaining some more meat on the bones. And then this third year, I just see it as just being just better at everything. Just
Mhm.
work all the details, just accessory work all year long, no matter what. Rehab multiple times a week, body work at least once every few weeks.
Mhm.
Yeah, taking care.
It's exciting. The season is gonna be, oh, you guys, you gotta follow along. I mean, like, go follow Abby. Go slide in the DMs and be like, "What's up?" It's like it's crazy fun to watch you progress as an athlete, as an individual. Um, Guarantee it, you guys are gonna hop on her handle and literally just be so inspired. You know what I mean? Like she shows you the grunt work she's doing. She shows you the progression. She's it's not just like, hey, here's like the highlights of my life. It's like, no, here's how I'm developing. Here's how I'm like progressing. And watch me work. Watch me face adversity and get fired up about it. I mean, like I get fired up about it, but maybe I'm like impartial or partial because we work with you, but it really is true. You know what I mean? And like, it's exciting to think about where the season is going to take you and what you get to do. And so you guys definitely make sure you go follow Abby. Again, her handle, I'll spell it out for you. ABBIEDOMIT. Domit is her last name, not Domit. So don't say Domit. No.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what they said at Semi-Finals. The announcers kept going, Abigail Domit. And I was like, it's Domit.
Bruce, it's Domit.
They'll get it right this year, so.
Exactly. Like, they have to. I'll write them. Be like, you guys. But yeah, so you guys make sure to go follow her. Abby, thank you so much for your time today. I hope you guys enjoyed the things that we talked about, the realness behind the woman who is on this podcast today. She is an incredible woman. It's an honor to work with you, Abby. We're excited to see where you go. For everyone out there who's listening or watching, please subscribe to the Swole Friends podcast. We go live every week with incredible athletes, people just like Abby, on YouTube and Facebook. We post the audio to Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Twitch, we're still kind of figuring out. So if we have no more Twitch fans, just stick with us. And Abby, thank you. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And so you guys too, on your followers. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Thank you so much.
Bye, Abby.
Bye.